The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
This podcast is a TOFOP production.
Head to tofop.com for more.
The following episode of TOFOP is rated MA for mature audiences. It may contain sexual references, time travel references, allegations of bin misconduct, and mild coarse language. TOFOP advises that this episode is not suitable for anyone under the age of 15 or anyone who thinks a comedy conversation between two old mates sounds like a terrible idea for a show. Minors must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. This is John Deek speaking.
Everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching. Charlie, a question before we begin.
Yeah.
We are recording without podcast mic on the call today. We were going to try to do this in person, but it turns out that I have learned a new skill, juggling. I might in fact become a professional juggler, but it turns out I've dropped the ball today and not been able to make it over to your place. I was very much looking forward to the idea that you've built this pod cave, this TOFOP home studio that I have not yet really even set foot in, let alone in its completed state, let alone broadcast an episode from. And this weekend was going to be the weekend because we have to bank a whole bunch of episodes for reasons that we can get into in a bit, but we have to do a whole bunch of them in a row. So the plan was I would go around to your house. I would finally get to record some episodes in the pod cave. That has not happened. We are back on our usual way of recording in two separate places on this Riverside studio. And as we mentioned, traditionally every week on this show, Podcast Mike normally says the number of the episode and then counts us down for the last few until we go. Podcast Mike not here today. And as the countdown started, I genuinely saw a look of panic in your eyes like this does not feel right. What is going on?
Well, there's no one to blame.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm someone who loves to abdicate responsibility. I love that,
sure.
you know, I'm an actor. We just turn up at the last minute on set. Someone hands us a bottle of water, holds an umbrella over our head. We walk up, we say some bullshit in front of the camera. Then we get like chauffeur driven back to our trailer. We don't take any responsibility. But now, like if something goes wrong, the recording fails or whatever, I can't bring up Mike and yell at him. Like I have to take responsibility. But things seem to be going okay. In fact, before you did, like when I thought you were going to be coming over in person, I did sort of rearrange the studio to be a bit more live friendly, like create a bit more room, and I had some like cameras set up and everything like that. And then I realized as I was doing that, I'm unplugging and plugging in a lot of shit.
Right.
Like it's been working fine for the past like 8 months, and I've been unplugging it. And I'm like, what if this? Like if I've missed something, if in my rearranging of the studio I've missed something, I don't think I'm smart enough to work out what's wrong. And we don't have Podcast Mike here to figure it out for us. So part of me is a little bit relieved that we've gone back to the old way of doing it. But even then, I sort of did a big systems check to make sure everything was working okay. And, you know, we're going to be, we are recording a few episodes in a row today. And there's some things that I'm going to be playing some like music and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, do I actually know how to do that? Because ordinarily, I don't have to use that part of my brain. Hey, Mike, can we play a clip from this? Hey, Mike, and he sets it up. But now, and this is where like, I talked to Jules Lund about this when he did an episode of TOFOP. He was saying he doesn't go longer than 10 seconds before he Googles anything now. Like when he's got any question about everything, it's like he won't even try and use his brain. He just Googles it. And so that's exactly what I did. But when you have a very specific thing in mind, which is like, if I'm using Riverside through a roadcaster and I want my guest to be able to listen to a track that like, so that's what I'm typing into Google and then it just comes back with absolutely no response, just cold sweat. So just cold sweats. So not this episode, but the other episodes we're recording today, which people will hear in a week or so, it may be a technological disaster.
I had, so I don't know if you're the same, but there's a threshold to if something goes wrong. So like if something's working, like most of the things around the house, like even living on like a rural property, like I know how the tank works when it works. I know how the bore water works when it works. I know how the solar hot water system works when it works, right? Like
when it works.
Yeah. And I know the first step of sort of like turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, like, that basic level of if the pump stops working, if you got no water in the house, okay. So here was the situation I was presented with this week.
Yeah.
No water in the house. So if there's no water in the house, my immediate first thing is, okay, it's probably a pump issue. The pump has like gone off in the middle of the night. That's why there's no water in the house. So that's the most likely explanation. The danger scenario is the tanks are empty. Now, with all the rain that we've had in our part of the world in the last 2 years, if my fucking tanks are empty, I'm giving up. I'm burning the whole place down and I'm walking away. So I don't think the tanks are empty. I think it's just got to be a problem with getting the water pumped into the house. So immediate thing you first check in that situation is like I just go downstairs and I check if like one of the, what do you call it when see, this is how bad I am at even this. Your fuse board has a fuse like switch tripped,
box.
right?
Yeah.
So something might have tripped in the night. Is there anything on the fuse? No, everything's fine. Everything
all the switches are pointing in the same direction.
Correct, which is like I would not be able to identify which is the right direction. Like I'm just looking for one that isn't in the same direction as the other ones.
Well, I have like traditionally lived in houses that have been so old that all the fuse boxes had the old school like wire wrapped around it. So if a fuse went, you'd have to pull out the fuses, see if there's like a burnt wire and then like rewire it. It wasn't until I moved into like a new house that I was like, oh, they got rid of those like 30 years ago. You don't even have to like rewire the fuse if it goes.
And I must admit, mine's recently been updated. So I have a new fuse board in the house, which means that they're now even all labeled. So I could literally look along and find the one that said pump and like make sure that even the pump one, they were all in the right position, but I still checked to see if the pump one was in the right position despite the fact all the others were. So that's not the problem.
Yeah.
Here's what could be a problem. The pump could just have died. Now, it's an old pump. Like these sort of pumps, they're meant to have long lasting life. You should be able to repair them and, keep using them. But like it's an old pump and I've always been living with the possibility at some stage it might just stop working. But anyway,
considering we've talked a lot about you barricading yourself in your home in the event of some kind of apocalyptic event, this is important. Like you need water. I don't know a lot about anatomy, Will, but I know that human bodies need water.
Yes. Now, okay, so absolutely 100% you're right. There's two things that I need really for my entire self-sufficiency, which is that I need a battery for my solar system so I can just run the whole place myself, and I need a reliable pump, Charlie, or a spare pump, a backup pump, and I need to know how to replace that pump in case of pump emergency. So this is out of my area of expertise. The only thing I know about the pump is it's kept in what I would say is like, I guess like a concrete, like, it's made of like some sort of like concrete box.
Housing?
So the pump's, housing, right? So the pump is inside that, but the pump is so big, it takes up most of that housing. So the only way to get into the reset button, like that you need to like, that's my kind of on and off. I need to push this reset button. So on the side of this concrete housing, like you can take the lid off and go in that way, but you can't see. You're basically just dangling your hand down and poking around. So there's like in the side of the concrete box, there's like a hole. And if you just stick your hand into that hole, ET style, and just like finger around.
I was thinking more like that scene in the original Flash Gordon movie. There's that rock you stick your hand in and sometimes it gets bitten by some weird monster. Like that.
So it's like, but in Flash Gordon XXX, that was a glory hole.
It's not your hand you're sticking in there.
That's why it was called Flash, if you know what I'm saying. It was a real lottery, but it was worth it for the thrill.
Flash Gordon, I believe it was called.
Yeah, so Flash Gordon. So I have this glory hole near my pump. This is all getting really weird. So my pump box has a glory hole, and you need to finger through that glory hole to find the reset button. So I go down there, get down on my knees, and I finger through the glory hole, and I finger around, and I push the reset button, and I I hit the button. I hit the button. It takes me a while to find the button.
The pump says, sorry, that's my belly button. Lower.
Lower. So I'm fingering around in the buttonhole for a while, and I find it. I push it, and this is what I get.
I am. All of a sudden, every teenage experience in my life just comes rushing back. Just a disappointed grunt.
So the pump gives this disappointed grunt, essentially.
Yeah.
But that means that there's still power going to the pump. That's what I know. Like the pump's trying. It's just like whatever's happening is not meant to be happening. So it's not a power problem, it's a pump problem. So in that situation, I do the only thing that I know how to do. I unplug the pump. I
get some compliments first. That's your problem. Is you went straight to fingering the button. You needed to give it some compliments first. Give it the move.
Some foreplay. I thought because it was a pump, it was a real pump and dump situation, but it turns out no.
Come on.
Even a pump needs some foreplay. Exactly. So, unplug my pump, plug my pump back in, turn the pump back on, put my finger again once more through the glory hole and finger around for the button, push it again. Okay, same problem. All right. How long at this point would you do other things before you call the plumber? Like, because I want to know how many more steps you would have at this point.
I'm stubborn. So I would assume that it's like a failing of mine. So the Catholic guilt would rush in, and it's like, this is somehow my fault. It's my failing. If I was a better husband and father, I'd be able to fix this. So once I've gone through all that emotional trauma and then spoken to my therapist about it, I would attempt to, if there's some kind of casing. Can you see the pump at all? Like, is there a way that can you unscrew like a panel or get into where
you can take the top off? You can take the top off the concrete housing. Like it's quite heavy, but you can take it off and you can remove it. But no, really, to then be able to fiddle with the pump in any way, you'd need to remove the entire pump from this casing, which I'm not 100% sure whether I'd be. It's like a heavy pump, and it's kind of there's not a lot of room or like leverage to be able to.
And you don't know what you're disconnecting, and you know what that's going to do.
Can't see anything down there. It's darkness.
No, that's it. So I think what you've done is about the level that I'd be willing to go to before I called a professional.
Yeah, my thing is I've got to rule out all the things that they could just walk in and go, duh, it's this switch.
Go over into the PowerPoint and switch it on.
Yeah, that's what I've got to rule out. I've just got to rule out any possibility.
Humiliation level. You just need to eliminate any possibility of humiliation. Like that's what you just don't want to look like an absolute moron. That's what you got. That's your base level.
So I call the plumber. Yeah, of course we're in the country, so you then just get this
6 months later.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the thing. There's someone in your area today. They can drop over today. We're just not sure why. So now you're just at home, kind of like waiting on this situation to resolve itself. So,
we're not sure when, or we're not sure why. You said they can drop over. They're just not sure why. Did you mean when?
Well, I mean both, I guess, technically, but I meant when.
The plumber turns up with an existential crisis, like I'm here, but I don't know why. I mean, what's
I plumb, therefore I am. I mean, literally, what am I doing? People are shitting this stuff out, and then I'm removing the shit. Who am I? What am I? What is a man?
I've plumbed the depths of my own soul in search of answers.
Yeah, you know what? I need to clean out the shit that's inside my heart, not the shit that's inside your toilet, mate.
Oh, God, I called the philosophical plumbers again. Damn it.
So actually what happened was I was doing some laundry this morning, and I've put some stuff in the dryer because the line is full, and it's now putting off some warning system. So in the back I've got one of those of the beep, beep, beep. Beep, 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 going over and over and over. And I was thinking, can I get through this anecdote before I ask Charlie to pause so I can actually turn that off? So the plumber comes around much earlier than expected. That's rare. Like I was thinking late afternoon, we're talking just after lunch. So suddenly, plumber's here. I run him through what I've done because I really want to make a bit of a show of, mate, I've done stuff. The pump didn't just stop working and I've immediately called a plumber. I'm on the land. I can do things, right? So he's a bit suspect on the fact that I've done these things, so he wants to check anyway. So he goes and checks all the things that I've already checked, and I felt a little undermined by that, but I was like, okay, fair enough. And then he goes in and he puts his finger in the concrete glory hole, and he fingers around, touches the button.
It just starts gushing immediately. And you're like, God damn it.
Spurting water everywhere.
I've been cucked by this philosophical plumber.
It's like, you watch me make your pump squirt everywhere. And I'm like, squirting's just wee. Like, and he's like, I know, I'm a plumber. I know more than anybody. I think, therefore we am. What? Yeah, I'm philosophical. So he puts his finger in the glory hole.
Yeah.
Same. So
Right. Good.
At this point, a normal person would be like, oh, damn, there's something wrong with my pump. But really, honestly, I'm feeling pleased that at the point that I've got to, he's also done that and arrived at the same point. That makes me feel better, right? Like, I'm like, okay, cool. So then he's like, well, I'm going to have to take off the lid and have a, look around and see what I can find. He said, oh, no, you know what he did? He touched it again and it went, ugh. And he said, and I did like this, he goes, sounds like a fan issue. Ooh. I was like, you can tell that just from that little. So anyway, he goes in the back, he undoes the fan, which is accessible because it's kind of on the edge of the pump, undoes it, looks at me and says, I have never seen this before.
Ah, good.
So what did my plumber discover in the fan of my house pump that stopped water to my house?
I mean, it's something that a plumber has never seen before, because my immediate thought is, there was some animal in there. But it
was an animal. And I was, to be honest, I was a bit surprised he had never seen it before.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've found like a frog in one of my pumps here. So that doesn't seem to surprise me. But it was something.
What type of animal was it? Again, I was surprised that he was surprised. I will say that. Like, it wasn't like it's a kangaroo. Like, it was something that I would have been like, oh yeah, that we live in the country. Yeah, that animal is around here.
I was going to say it's a snake.
It's a snake
in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a snake.
Completely unsurprising. Is this your plumber's first day?
I mean,
no wonder he turned up going, why am I here? I'm not even a plumber. That's why it was such a surprise.
I guess maybe they don't crawl. Maybe they're smart enough to not crawl into fans, snakes. Like, I mean, maybe that's the issue. I don't know. But yeah, there was a snake.
There is a reality series. I believe it's on Binge or something. It's Australian snake hunters or snake catchers or something. Have you seen it?
No.
Don't. Because I'd never had a snake phobia, but so they just go around catching snakes, and the places they find snakes will make you think that your house is just full of them. Like, they're lifting up fridges, and the snakes love getting inside like washing machines and dryers, and where there's like where they can keep warm at night. And it's just gross. And I don't hate snakes. I quite like snakes, but just the way they curl around things and they're tugging them out of pipes and stuff, it's just gross. So considering where you live, I would have assumed that would be the first thing. Like, if I was a plumber and I was going to encounter any animal, snake would be the first thing I'd
got to get these motherfucking snakes out of this motherfucking fan. Like that, I imagine exactly. It's like a daily occurrence. Like, I mean, when they were redoing the roof here, like they found heaps of like snake skins in the roof. Yeah, like there's snakes everywhere here. Like, I mean, I see snakes around as well, but I was surprised that he was surprised, I guess. Like, is actually... Because I was a bit the same. I was like, yeah, well, there's snakes in fucking everything, mate. You should watch this series on the Nature Channel.
Was it alive or dead?
Oh, no, it was not alive. No.
Oh, okay. Oh, goodness. What had happened to it?
It crawled into where a fan was operating.
So it got chopped up? Did it get chopped up?
I mean, it just got, I don't know. It didn't look chopped up. It looked just dead. But
I mean, I had a similar thing happen with one of my sprinkler systems where it's like a large kind of square sprinkler. It just stopped working, and I could see water going in, and then I unplugged everything, and as I took out one of the connections, I see this little frog's foot come out, just like a frog leg, and I'm like, oh God. And so then I had to get a stick and just just bits of frog just scraping out of my sprinkler. And I was like, oh man, why did you do it, frog? I know there's water in there, but don't go in there.
All right, I'm going to turn off this fucking annoying beep.
Okay. Well, while Will's doing that, I'll tell a little story about snakes. So where I live, there's also quite a lot of snakes. When we first moved in, there was a big diamondback python, which I've been told is actually not a bad thing. You want to have a diamondback python in your house because it scares away the brown snakes, and they're not really a threat unless you have small pets, which I don't. And thankfully, Iona's old enough now that, she can stay away from pythons as well. But anyway, that python went away, moved to the neighbor's house. And then I found a baby, like a little, I don't know what kind of snake it was, but I found like a dead baby snake on the step. And I was like, oh, that's no good. So I called one of the snake people who lives in the area to come around and do a snake check. And he was like, oh no, that's, that I don't think that's come from here. I think a bird has eaten that baby snake and dropped it on your steps. And then he did another look around. He said, oh, I can't find any snakes around here. Sorry, Will, I'm just telling the audience a story about...
I was going to say, did Charlie not notice that I had left? I've literally gone downstairs and sorted some laundry and come back and Charlie's still talking. Like sometimes we have really bad reception on these calls. So maybe he's just got a frozen me on the screen. He's like, Will's not really encouraging much on this story, but I guess I'll keep going.
Hang on one sec. I'm just going to put some power on my computer.
Okay.
I was just telling the audience, Will, that we used to have snakes here, and there's been quite a lot of snakes spotted. Mm-hmm. But when I last had the snake guy out, he said, "Oh, you've got a fair few water dragons living on your property." I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, that's great because they're very territorial and they eat snake eggs. So you want water dragons." So now, there's 3 or 4 who live in my hedge. There's a blue tongue who's popped up. So I've become the lizard king. I'm like, more lizards, keep the snakes away, keep the snakes away. And it's I have not seen since that python that lived in this house when we first moved in, I have not seen them, but I've seen a shit ton of water lizards. And I'm like, water dragon. I'm team water dragon now.
How big are the water dragons?
I think there's a family of them. There's a couple of biggies and then some smaller ones. I just love the way they run. They've got that kind of, that wide leg kind of run that they do. But yeah, they just run around eating snake eggs because I've got a nature reserve right next to my house and there's been a few brown snakes spotted slipping back and forth between there. But I don't care, man. It's water dragon. Let them fight. I feel like I'm protected under the power of the water dragon.
Yeah, I dig that. I think I've told you this
before. Your place is too big. Well, your water dragon to get smashed.
I might have talked about this before, but when we first moved in, farmer logic. There was a guy who was telling us, we were asking
big
about
farmer logic, or
yeah, you can't trust it. No, just a normal size farmer, so it's fine. You're allowed to trust normal size farmer in this area. In fact, it's encouraged. In fact, trust them over big farmer, and so. He was basically saying to us that there'd be a brown snake living on a property like this. There would definitely be one here. He said your best bet is that it's been there forever and it's an older, because then they have their own territory. And the thing about the older ones is they don't want to have to protect it. The whole attitude is they get used to it. As long as you're making some noise, they don't want to see you either. They'll get used to your patterns. They'll just find somewhere to live and whatever, and they will keep all the young. But what happens if you kill that brown snake, the king brown snake, then suddenly there is firstly, there's 10 days where they won't play comedy on the BBC. And then there is a whole bunch of people who want to come in, other brown snakes from the area who is this, well, hang on, this is available. So, so that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping there's some sort of lazy king hiding under the house somewhere.
Have you heard of my sister? I was chatting to her last week. She's got a place up in Warby in country Victoria, and they've been renovating it, and they just had their house destroyed by cockatoos. They were away for a couple of weeks. They went back and the cockatoos had chewed up their windowsills, their new deck, had smashed a whole bunch of shit. Have you ever heard of this happening before?
Mate, they've got cock right in the name. They're telling you about it. What do you expect?
What? They're the Woodstock 99 bros.
They are, though, aren't they? Of all the birds that they would be new
Just
metal
like
fans.
chest out.
Absolutely,
hair
100%
spiked up.
love and Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
What are you here
All
for?
these little red caps on backwards. These cockatoos.
What's your favourite food, cockatoo? Corn. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she showed me like video, and it was like they had just completely.
I mean, by the way, Woodstock was a bird, right? From Peanuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Peanuts.
They went to a
Makes
different
sense.
Woodstock 99. It was run by Woodstock from Peanuts, and it was just bird bands.
It was crazy the amount of damage they'd done, and she was telling me this over Zoom. I had Iona on my knee while she was telling me, and I guess Iona's getting to an age now where things just implant. Because then, like 3 nights ago, Jem was putting Iona to bed, and Iona was like, had the sheets up around her neck, and she was like, "Can you just make sure you lock the windows and the doors?" And Jem's like, "Why?" And she's like, "I don't want the cockatoos coming in and destroying my room." It's like, oh no, I know. It's just all it takes is just one conversation with your aunt, and now you've got this phobia of cockatoos.
I mean, yeah, that's right. Like, I mean, normally it's the father, preventing a cockatoo getting into a teenage daughter's room rather than like her age being terrified of the birds. I mean, that'd be maybe because they did that scene by scene remake of Psycho. Who did that?
Psycho. Gus Van Sant.
Gus Van Sant, right? How about a scene by scene recreation of the birds, but the birds are
In
cockatoos?
Australia?
Yeah.
But you shoot it in Australia.
Shoot it in Australia, Australian remake, where the birds are cockatoos.
100%. I know we touched on this briefly on one of our other podcasts or maybe Instagram Live or something, but I'm having this running battle with magpies at the moment because I got a bike for my birthday and I've been cycling around town a lot. And there's a little industrial estate just outside of town that I ride to get to the gym. And it's like a maybe 1-2 kilometer stretch of country road. So I'm already taking my life in my own hands because it's a 2-lane road and you got like fucking semi-trailers roaring by and no bike path or anything. I'm literally just on the side of a road trying to get to the gym. But it flies right under this like magpie territory. And I'd forgotten, like it's been 20 years since I've ridden a bike. Like I'm really having, they say you never forget how to ride a bike. Not true. The first couple of times I rode it, I was like, oh, my balls are killing me. This is so hard. I'm not comfortable at all.
People honestly said to me, like when I had a couple of years off stand-up and I was talking about that I was nervous about going back to stand-up. They're like, oh, no, it's like riding a bike. And I was like, mate, last time I rode a bike, I couldn't walk for a week. Like, what are you talking about?
So I don't think I'd ever experienced like magpie attacks back when I rode a bike. But then I got like a real kind of crash course in it because just that there is a 200-meter stretch of like these big pine trees and it's just filled with magpies. And these motherfuckers will come at me. And it's so funny because they don't actually – I've got my helmet on. They're not actually pecking me or like clawing me or anything like that. But it's like verbal intimidation.
Oh yeah,
like they fly so close to my ears and they're flapping their wings and they're cawing, and I can hear the little of their beaks right.
They're
next to my
bullying
ear.
you. That's what they're doing. They're bullying
you. It's like when a guy like he'll feign to throw a punch and see if you react.
That's 100%.
And I'm reacting every time.
They're like a gang of yous. You're walking down the street and a gang of yous have just come up and started going made you jump.
God, and the thing is, like I've told you, like my greatest fear is ending up on Brown Cardigan. Like someone shoots some like video of me, like, and because there's cars going by all the time, and I am the dude, the dork on his bike with his bike helmet on, like, because it immediately I turn into this like 85-year-old man. I don't even use like proper swear words, like motherfucker. I'm like bugger off, get out of here, rack off. I don't know why, like the insults are all so like generic and nice, but I'm like, get out of here, but. I've had these.
Also, it doesn't really matter like what the insults are because they're magpies and they don't speak English. It's not like you're like, I haven't used the right words. Maybe people are yelling bugger at them. You could yell anything. You could yell your name, Charlie.
But if you really want to like, if you really like, it's like again, if you want to intimidate someone, you use fucking big swear words and shit. Fucking fuck, come on, can't fucking like be like this. Like
we do that because when we're insulting people. we understand that they understand those words and the meaning of those words, right? Like, that's why.
Yeah, no, but my point being, like, to puff myself up and be as aggressive and scary to this animal as possible, I should be using words that, like, if someone comes at me and says, "Hey, fella, hey, pal, hey, buddy," like, you know, or they come and say, "You fucking cunt," you know, like, I'm going to react more
again,
the other
because you speak English.
The psychosomatic connection between the harder swear word makes me bigger and more aggressive.
No, Charlie, it's the words.
If trust me, like, if you want to fire yourself up for something, if you walk around going bugger this and schweppes that and stuff, or fuck shit, fuck, like, you're getting more aggression out, and it's physically having a reaction in your body.
Well, maybe it's having a reaction in your body, but it's not intimidating the magpies anymore.
It is so. There is a difference. If I was like, maybe it's only a 5 to 10% difference. But
you think that's the difference? Wouldn't it be better to try to swear in like a magpie's language? Shouldn't it be a bit more like,
well, yeah, that I will definitely end up on Brown Cardigan then with some caption, WTF, like triple a laughing emoji. It's just some middle-aged guys like screaming in magpie language on his bike. No, but Will, what I am getting is these like violent revenge fantasies. And because sometimes like I've gotten better at sort of like judging when they come in. So now like I use this shadow when the sun's out. I can see the shadow of the magpie and I can like almost judge when they're about, because they hold the wings up obviously to coast above me, and then they'll drop the wings when they're about to dive in. So I have like, I know that, okay, he's diving in now. So I've been trying to sort of turn and swing my arm to see if I can just like, I just want to punch it just once.
I just want to punch one magpie. Is that too much to ask?
You're a vegetarian, and you know, you don't believe in like attacking animals and stuff. If you saw me, like if you were driving past, and it doesn't have to be me, you saw a guy on a bike. If you saw him turn and execute like a perfect left-hand cross and just crack a magpie in the skull, and then magpie drop to the ground, potentially dead, maybe concussed, what would you think? Would you think that guy was out of line? Like, have I crossed the line by punching a magpie in the head in self-defense?
Yeah, self-defense.
Like I went up to the magpie.
So that's important. Self-defense. Like if there was just a magpie minding its own business, like, you know, perched on, say, like a railing near your house, and then you intentionally wandered over towards it and punched it in the beak, then I would find that different to you being on your bike and a magpie being near your head and you. No, that's fine. That's self-defense. No court in the land would convict you.
Okay, let's extend the hypothetical though. So I punch it in the head, you see it drop to the ground. Yeah. And then like I stop and I've had a moment of kind of like crisis. I'm like, oh, and then you stop your car and then we hear cheep, 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 cheep. And we look up and we see 3 baby magpies in a nest. It was just a mum defending her babies, and I punched it in the head and killed it.
Good point.
What do we do? What do we do then? Bad luck, birds? Your mum shouldn't have been such a prick.
Oh, man, it is tough. I guess you then have to raise those magpies as your own.
No.
You're their,
absolutely
you're their mother now.
No. I refuse.
And you'll learn an important life lesson through the process. This is essentially like you've always been a racist, and then you're in some attack, and then you have to raise like 3 kids not of your own race, and you learn some important lessons about loving each other. So I think it's the same. Like, you know.
That's like, an Oscar-winning film, right?
Exactly. There. A man in it, like,
white savior. We make a white savior film. That's what the world needs, another white savior movie.
Yeah, it is really very much the, what was that Sandra Bullock film about?
The Blind Side.
The Blind Side. This is The Blind Side, but with magpies.
That's what we call it, The Blind Side, in brackets, but with magpies. Now, what about this? Yes. Well, what if, okay, so in self-defense, you're okay with that. What if I ride that particular route where I know I get attacked, but I ride with the intention, hoping that a magpie will try and attack me, but with an intent to retaliate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is getting darker.
So, like, maybe I'm carrying a weapon of some kind, a golf club, or something like that. So,
I mean, for me, if you were going to carry a weapon, I'd suggest perhaps like a tennis racket rather than a golf club would be my just more chance of connecting. Like how do you imagine that you're going to wield a golf club while on a fucking bike and a magpie?
Well, I just thought it was longer than a tennis racket.
Yeah, but all you can do is poke it. Like, and which club? are you intending on using?
No, my one wood, of course. Like hitting magpies is my one wood.
Surely you'd have to use your Collingwood to hit magpies. But okay, so yes, good one. That was the appropriate response to that. Yes, acknowledged. Good one. Well done. Wordplay.
Good one.
Excellent. Not funny, but good one. Okay. Are you in any other way than usual? So it's happened before. Unintentionally, you haven't just Googled local areas where there's lots of magpies. You've ridden this route before, been attacked by magpies, and now vigilante style, you're sort of going out to like get your
100%.
revenge. Like you're hoping that the same thing will happen because it's time for you to get your revenge on the magpies. That's what we're talking about.
It's like death. It's death wish.
Yeah.
Like they've taken something from me, and now I've gone off and I've got myself prepared, and I'm ready for a battle. So it's not like a spontaneous, instinctive self-defense action. It's like I'm going out there. I'm not going out to be the aggressor, but I'm hoping that they attack me so I can then respond by swinging my tennis racket / golf club.
Well, if they attack still first, unprovoked, then it's still self-defense. Like it's like in America where people that have guns in their house, you can shoot somebody if they've like broken into your property and you feel threatened. I mean, that's horrible, but in all regards. But I think that but here's what I was going to say. Have you done anything to provoke them? Like, have you?
I've ridden through their territory.
Yeah, but I think you're allowed to do that. Like, have you? Are you luring them in some way?
Oh, with like shiny things?
Yeah,
magpies
yes, exactly. Have you like
I've stuck shiny things all over my helmet? No, I'm just.
So you haven't gone out of your way to.
No.
Okay.
Just riding my bike to the industrial estate on the country road.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, they do. Yeah.
And now, do you have in this scenario your golf club already in your hand? Like, so are you going through with golf club in hand?
Yeah. Yeah. At the ready.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I don't know if you
can a jousting knight. I have it resting on my handlebars, ready to swing in an instant. So listen, think about like when someone gets attacked by a shark, or like even a dog or whatever. Like generally that animal is then considered a danger, and they'll go out and they'll hunt it down. Right. How do you feel about that? Like when there's been a shark attack and they're like, oh, it was a great white in this area. We need to, eliminate that great white. And people will be like, but it's the shark's territory. We were out in the shark's territory. Yeah. Do you think there'd be magpie advocates who are like, well, hang on, he's riding through the magpies. She's just had kids. Yeah. She doesn't know. He's riding through her territory. We shouldn't go out and kill that magpie.
Well, I mean, I don't think that we do think that, do we?
Like the magpie's threatening my life.
Yeah, but also
attacking my helmet.
As a society, like, I think it would be a step too far if, like, every time there was a magpie attack, there were calls to hunt down that specific magpie and kill it. Like, I think that is a step too far.
What level of damage would it have to do to me before you think we could put a call out?
We've got to kill that specific
Like,
magpie.
if someone gets their leg bitten off by a shark, they'll go get that shark.
Yeah.
So does it have to be that severe? I have to lose a limb or like permanent brain damage or something that affects my livelihood?
No, but you'd have to think that there was a danger of it happening again, right? So did this magpie do something that it is like, or was this just a chance accident? It's accidentally got your eye. You've overbalanced because like your golf club that you had as a jousting stick has gone into the spokes of your bike. And you've like flipped off the front of your bike and there's a golf club in the back and like you've come down like on your head and like, basically like permanently and also ended up absolutely on brown cardigan, absolutely in that scenario.
The real danger would be that I get pushed into traffic, like because that can happen. Like there's a narrow side of the road that I am trying to navigate, and just say this magpie's relentless. This did happen one day actually, where so I was approaching the area where the magpie attacks normally happen, and like some days I'll get through scot-free. There's no attack, and I'm like, okay, right, awesome. And so I was halfway through the danger zone. Kenny Loggins ringing into my ears. That's his lesser known single.
That was the actual
halfway through the day. It was halfway through the danger zone, looking for a magpie in the danger zone. So I was halfway through the danger zone, and I hadn't heard, because normally it's like a horror movie.
I mean,
You'll
that is
hear-
actually more impressive, isn't it? Because like the highway to the danger zone is fine. Everyone can drive the highway
but
to the
near
danger zone. I'm happy to drive you right up to the danger zone, mate. I'll drop you off at the edge of the danger zone. But halfway through the danger zone, no, thank you.
Just text me when you're done. I'll come pick you outside the danger zone.
I'll meet you at the danger zone again. I'm here. You can go into the danger zone. I'll be right here.
Hey, Will, you here? I'm outside the danger zone. Where are you? I'll come pick you up from the side entrance to the danger zone.
I'm right on the edge of the danger zone. You can't miss me. Just get out of the danger zone. I'll be right there.
So I was halfway through the danger zone, and normally, like, it's kind of like it's a creepy precursor to an attack. Like, you'll be riding and you'll just hear this, and then there's normally a, and then the snapping of beaks or the claws or whatever like that. So you always get like a split second of notice. But I'd been riding and I hadn't heard anything. I was like, oh, maybe they've taken the day off. Maybe she's feeding her kids or whatever. And then I look ahead and I just see coming flying directly towards me like it's playing chicken, this magpie, like wings fully extended, just head down, beak pointed square at my face, and she's coming for me. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, how am I going to take evasive action here? So I think what I did in that instance was I actually just like covered my eyes like this, hoping that, and she sort of like veered over the top. But in that instance, if a truck had been coming on that side, if I'd like lost my balance or like wobbled on the handlebars, I could have gone out to traffic. So let's say that happens. I get hit by a car, don't die, but I'm in traction for 6 months. Like, and then I call you up and say, Will, I've had a lot of time in this hospital bed, and my thoughts have been consumed with nothing but revenge. I want to take this magpie down. Like, look what it took from me. I'm a monster.
Has it since then done anything like that to anybody else? Or is it just this one isolated incident that has happened to you?
I understand. So you're saying like it has to be a more, more sympathetic.
No, I just want to know if there's a pattern. Like, everybody can make a mistake. And I think one of the tenets of our society is forgiving people like a one-off mistake or an accident and all those sort of things. Like the magpie might not know what it does, right? But if there's a pattern, if this is like behavior that this magpie is engaging in regularly, it's a different scenario, right?
Well, what if we find out that every 27 years this magpie feeds for 27 days?
All right, okay, great. I'm in.
And it pecks the eyes out of 27 people or whatever that Jeepers Creepers.
Okay. All right. So there's like a ancient magpie, a magpie that has lived for centuries and only attacks for, okay. Yeah, and then in that case, we've got to kill this fucking magpie, right?
I'm now. Jeepers Creepers mythology. Let's. Okay. So it's an ancient, mysterious, it says demon, but we'll replace the word magpie. An ancient, mysterious magpie who seeks organs from humans to replace its own old, damaged ones. It hunts for 23 days every 23rd spring, scaring its victims and using the scent of fear to determine what it needs to feed on. Okay, so that's the magpie we're dealing with.
Okay.
We've only got 22 days from my attack. I get attacked day one.
All right. You get attacked day one. Let's just say you're in hospital for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Gives us like, basically a week and change to get this job done. Like you've had 2 weeks in hospital. You've like been stewing on it. You get out of hospital. You're like, I've been doing a lot of reading. And it turns out this magpie, I believe, is not just a regular magpie, Will. I believe it's an ancient magpie that feeds every 23 years for 23 days, and we need to destroy it. And I'd be like, well, that does seem to make a lot of sense, Charlie, so let's get to it.
Worst comes to worst, we get a good content for Brown Cardigan.
First call, Brown Cardigan. Guys at Brown Cardigan headquarters, I'd be like, just send out every tradie. Honestly, guys, like anything else that's going on today, whether it be like...
I know you're filming some guy high on coke, some dude doing lines in his car, thinks he can't be seen, but we've got a script for you.
We've got to get all your best content creators and capturers on the scene today because we are taking down an ancient deadly magpie. I got to be honest with you. If you are capable at this point of getting back on the bike, then we've got to use you as bait. The best plan is you are This is bait bike. This is what we've got here, right? So we've got to lure this magpie back down again. Now, I don't think that you should then be the person who, I mean, I know, but you want to have revenge on this, don't you? You want to be the person who kills the magpie, right?
Yeah, I want to deal the killing blow.
Now, well, how would you feel about us capturing the magpie and then you killing it? Like, or do you need to kill it in action, in the action of its...
Or in a kind of, or do we just like spin the whole thing where we create a scenario like that? We capture and knock the magpie out, and it wakes up and
doesn't know where it is.
Doesn't know where it is. We've hired this warehouse, and the magpie looks down, and it's strapped to a tiny bike, and we've hooked this bike up to a track.
Right. Love it.
And the bike starts moving, and the magpie says, "What's going on?" And as it's on the bike, it hears me go, "Ah!" And I just run out and I start like swiping at the magpie's head, and we repeat this torture for 23 days. So the magpie learns a lesson. This is what you've been putting me. This is what you've been putting us through.
Reprogramming.
We reprogram it by giving it a dose of its own medicine. This is, you think you're just like replenishing your organs every 23 years for 23 days. Or what you're doing is traumatizing a whole township.
Hey, Jem, we need to take some money out of the account because we just need to hire a warehouse in the industrial estate for a month.
With a tiny little bike.
I need someone to make a tiny little
We're going to have to rebuild a forest.
So here's what I would suggest in that situation, though. For the full effect, you've got to be on trapeze. So we've got to go so here was the plan. It's near the industrial estate, right? So we go down to the industrial estate, we find one of the empty, we get an empty, because they've got, obviously it's an industrial estate. There's some big warehouse spaces in there. So yes, the magpie's little and we need the tiny little bike, but what we need is room for you to swoop. Because we need to get
on cables.
And this is capable because we are in an area where there's circus schools all over the place, experts in this area.
Trapeze.
Oh, so easy, right? So trapeze, I would say. Yeah. So we go down, we ring up trapeze, and say, hey, we need to get some trapeze people down. Maybe we even hire some young people, right? Okay, this is good.
Yeah.
You can make
circus school kids.
Yeah, you make it a family activity. You get the local circus school down and you get we've got this tiny little magpie on a bike. All we need you to do is just swoop it. People would be into that, I think. I found a way 100%. For us to monetize our revenge.
Finally. Finally, this podcast makes some money.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to do a little short episode. In fact, for the next few weeks, we're actually doing slightly short episodes, only 10% shorter, just because we're trying to maximize our time together and give you guys episodes to go into the feed each week. So we're going to get to the mailbag. But before we do, a little plug for our website, TOFOP.com, where you can find all our podcasts. This week, I'm chatting to Cam Knight on TOFOP.
Nice.
He was good enough to join me. Very similar discussion topics. We talked about doing home maintenance ourselves, and I've got a guy coming around to help me seal my downstairs room tomorrow. And I was saying to Cam, I'm a little nervous because the guy has asked if I could give him a hand, and I said I think I can. I think I can give you a hand, but I'm not sure what that means. So that's at tofop.com. You can also listen to our footy podcast, You Guys One Cup, which is available on the Listener app, or you can listen to it through our website. Things are really hotting up. Semi-finals are over. 2 more weeks to go. That, again, is at tofop.com. And you go to patreon.com to hear all our bonus episodes and some exciting news. I feel like I've made this announcement 6 times. It's like the Chinese democracy of our Patreon. But James Fosdyke and I have finalized the script for Quantum Cop.
Yeah, you have said that before. You've said that several times. And I refuse to believe it this time because I've heard this before.
Well, this is, I can't draw it. I can only write it. And so James rejected one of my scripts completely. Well, not completely. It was 75% rewrote it and then sent it to me about 3 months ago, but I completely missed the email because he called me last week to say, hey, what do you think of the script now? So it's back with him. He's excited. He's ready to draw it. So that will be coming soon. So it's going to be a couple of months before that comes out. So why not sign up to our Patreon and make yourself familiar with the first 4 issues of Quantum Cop? But Will, this is from Paul, who says, hey, Charlie, I was listening to TOFOP 387 while walking to my hotel, wondering which movie to watch that night. While you two were banging on with your usual hilarious dribble, you recommended the movie Prey. Well, guess what? I watched it and I loved it. Perhaps Charlie could have a side hustle podcast recommending movies. Well, funny you should mention that because we do TOFOP, and every few weeks I have Guy Davis on, film reviewer Guy Davis on, and that's what we do. We talk about new films and we talk about old films. Guy will be back on in a couple of weeks' time. But if you want to go back and listen to some of those old episodes.
They're good. He's a great guest.
He's a good guest. Have you seen Prey yet?
No, I haven't. But you know what I did do is I actually worked out how to use my Disney Plus because I've been threatening to, like, I think I even signed up to it ages ago, but then I just didn't log in or whatever the fuck it was because I kept going, is there anything there that I really want to watch? And then I did because I wanted to watch Prey. And then I got distracted and watched She-Hulk, which I quite enjoyed.
I quite enjoyed She-Hulk too. It's funny.
Yeah, I think it is funny. And I enjoy that they're actually doing something a little bit like properly different and comic booky and like fun. Yeah. Like it's just fun and funny.
It's funny. I listened to the Weekly Planet boys back this week. They had a month off and they sort of briefly touched on it. And Meso made a good point, which is like, because apparently, and I'm not following this, but, you know, Twitter and online is blowing up. They're angry about She-Hulk for whatever reason. The nerds are angry, you know, that it's dumb and blah, 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 and women can't be Hulks or whatever. I'm assuming that's the kind of complaint. And he was saying that he thinks that the producers of She-Hulk are embracing that and deliberately putting shit in that they know will aggravate the audience because it's like, well, we're not going to give you what you want to see. We're going to give stuff that you claim that you don't want to see because there's an audience out there for it. And I, for one, am in favor of that. More of the stuff that other people don't want to see. That's the stuff I want to see.
Yeah, and they keep saying it out loud, like on the show. That's like, I mean, it is, I don't necessarily love shows where people talk to the camera, but I think this is a really good example of it. They're using it in the right way. And I agree. It's really proudly, provocatively feminist, but not in the way you would think when you hear that. Like, you know, I feel like they're having real fun with it. Like they're very comfortable in their feminism in that they're just like, I know that some of this is going to make people mad and we don't care. Self-aware in the right way.
Self-aware girl bossing.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
What it feels like.
It's fun. Yeah, it's a good fun show.
This is from Ashley. The subject is Shaving for Manly Men, Norwegian edition. Regards from sunny Tonsberg, Norway. So now you have at least 2 listeners from over here. Well, that's good to know. We're big in Scandinavia. Would you ever thought, I guess a show with one person with the surname Clausen makes sense that, you know, there'd be some kind of like.
Do you think that's how they got in? Do you think that's
Clausen, son of Klaus? He must be one of us. I don't know. Well, after that very insulting generic accent, maybe not.
Tell me, here's what I would like to. There would be. I have never been to any of the Scandinavian countries. Like I've never been to that part of the world. But I think that next time I travel, I think that's actually where I would like to go.
What's where people are happiest, man?
Well, like I want. Where should I go? If anyone's been or you're from those places, tell me where I should go. Like what the best things to do. Like hit me up and let me know. Like, you know, what's the best thing to do?
How do I meet the Prime Minister of Finland? How do I hang out with her? She looks like she knows how to party. I would absolutely
like to hang out with her. That would be fun. Yeah. Okay. Fun.
Wasn't that so great? Like just the way like traditional media try to frame this as being something like embarrassing or horrible, but it's just like, no.
Look at this human having a good time. And look at all the cool friends. Your Prime Minister's the best.
Okay. Ashley says, hearing Charlie's shaving problems prompted me to write to you. I'm an old git, as I remember when Kennedy was shot, both of them. Wow, man, that is what are you doing listening to this Australian podcast, Ashley?
Wow. I didn't know that they actually shot Graham Kennedy. Is that how he died?
Yeah, that's why Josh retired. Right. Just found out that his uncle Graham got shot. I never liked shaving with the cartridge multi-blades for much of the same reasons as Charlie, but getting a barbershop shave was always a treat. During the pandemic, I discovered there is a very active wet shaving scene that uses old-fashioned safety razors with the oldie double-edged blades, shaving brushes, quality lathers, and creams. It turns out there are plenty of companies around the world making these old-style razors using the latest technology. That doesn't surprise me. No. Like in the era of hipsters and, people using record players.
Yeah, absolutely. Beards and facial hair is like there's probably as many beard and facial hair like care products in the and like information in the male world as there would be like haircuts on top of your head.
As I am old, I remember my dad using this sort of kit for his daily shave and decided to take the plunge and order a basic set. In short, it's changed my life. Shaving every couple of days is almost as good as heading off to the barber for a full cutthroat shave, mixing your own lather.
I mean, now this feels less like a letter to us and more like an ad for whatever fucking product he's about to tell us
Mixing
about.
your own lather, using a brush, slowly shaving away in a couple of passes is a luxurious and calming treat that I look forward to. And the bonus is no ingrown hairs or spots ever again.
Plus, the company I bought it from was just two uni friends who decided to start a company together. So they bought a warehouse. And
there is a learning curve getting good at it, but YouTube's your friend. It's absolutely worth your time. And the 3 weeks that it'll take you to master, give it a go, Charlie. Even astute men deserve treats. I could imagine that's something I would get into at some point. I did actually, funnily enough, I was at the flea market yesterday and there was a brand new old school shaving kit on sale there. It was like the brush with the blade and all that kind of stuff. But I don't like shaving. I mean, that's why it is a treat when I go to the barber shop, because it's a once every like 6 months I'll get a cutthroat. But generally just clippers. But it's just it's a pain in the ass, I reckon. All right, last bit of mail before we go. This is from David. Great Balls of Fire origin. This is hopefully will be the final word on Top Gun. I think people are sick if hearing us talk about it. Hey guys, my local cinema played both the Top Gun movies as a double feature on Father's Day. Yes. Yeah, well, that's they would have made that is your perfect.
Yes.
If Ford versus Ferrari had played as the curtain raiser and then the Top Gun back to back.
Yeah, a lot of fathers just sitting like in the audience going, "Yeah, why doesn't my son dress like me? He should respect me more. Why doesn't he want to wear my mustache?"
As I watched the original, I noticed in the piano scene, young Rooster is clearly singing along to Great Balls of Fire. At a young age, before his father dies, he clearly knows the lyrics. Does this change any of your thinking around the childhood of Rooster? Look, I'm not saying that the way his father dressed in that moment didn't have a big impression. It's just odd that 35 or however many years later it is, 30 years later, he would reenact is it in the same bar as well? No, or it's a similar setting that he'd reenact the same thing. I just find that odd. Like there must be like who's an entertainer with a famous like parent, like a like a singer or something? Is there like there must be
yeah, there's like lots of them, none of which I can what about
I can't believe we can't think of one.
Well, Wolfgang Van Halen and Eddie Van Halen.
No, there's got to be a more...
John Lennon and Julian Lennon.
Yeah, okay, that's a good example. That's a great example. Because all Julian wanted to do...
Wolfgang Van Halen wasn't a good example. David Bowie and...
Duncan Jones.
Yeah,
no, let's...
Duncan Jones.
I think the first one you said is a better example because like Goose and Rooster, they are similar looking. Yes. And... As the eldest child of a Beatle, all the public wanted was, and especially after John died, like, oh my God, like you're John. And what did he do? He went the complete opposite direction. He didn't dress like his father. He didn't look like his father. The music he's released didn't sound like his father. Then he got to his 30s and I think he's like, fuck, I need to make some money. So he released Saltwater, which sounded exactly like his dad. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what? You're making me rethink it. The Julian Lennon clause. He got to a point where he's like, I need to cash in. So this is the point at which I will sound exactly like my father. But even then, it would have been weird if Julian Lennon came out with those little round
with
glasses.
The glasses.
Like,
if you put on the glasses, everyone would be like, yeah, right if you did the voice. You're like, no, you can't. No.
Something like that. It would be weird and strange. And I think no. If he started dating like a Japanese like artist, avant-garde artist, like
right. And if he really hated Paul, like he was like really, really, really angry at Paul.
It just would be strange. It would be strange. So no. In other words, it doesn't change my thinking.
Because he'd applied to music school and Paul had pulled his papers.
You wanted to save him. Now, okay.
But, so do you want to be assassinated like your father?
That's what we should write. We should write a spec script, which is essentially the plot of Top Gun Maverick, but it's about Julian Lennon entering the music industry and having his career stifled by Paul McCartney, who didn't want to end up like his father. That would be amazing. Yeah. That's a great idea. All right, copyright TOFOP. That's it for this week. Thanks again for listening. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson.
How long? Not long. Everyone relax. Fucking stupid.
This podcast is a TOFOP production.
Head to tofop.com for more.
Cool things for cool people.